Welcome to Bay Area Innovators. Our innovator today is David Gray. David spent his life savings and a huge amount of time and energy on an innovation that is dear to his heart.
This is a horrific American problem, and both sides should be trying to solve it. One will take years. I mean, how many kids have to die between now and then? And we can bring a technology that can make a dramatic national change. We have to. I don't care whose platform it is. We have to use that to protect our kids.
After he experienced a tragedy, he decided to make schools safer, so he developed a product and technology for this purpose. We will talk to David about this platform, his dedication to it, why he did it.
I will fight and I will continue to push to get this done. I will push for legislation that protects our kids until my last breath.
This is Bay Area Innovators, and I'm your host, Steve Espas. David, it's a pleasure to have you on our program.
Thank you for having me on.
Glad you're here. So, you spend a lot of energy and effort on this technology that protects kids, and it's hard to argue pretty much with anyone, how important it is to protect kids in schools. Please give us a bit of background, how you got involved in this. What was the factor that got you started into creating this product?
Well, I've been in video for decades, 4.5 decades now, and television and video to me was the most powerful element that man had ever created. I mean, you create the ability to influence millions and millions of people, from a set or from one environment. So I've been, that's why I got into what I do for a living as a day job. And I was at home in Palm Springs, and I got a call. There was a bus load of little girls, the Girl Scouts, that had gone off of a cliff. I'm one of the very first people that get to the scene.
You were as a first responder?
I was not. No, I was for the media, so television news. Mm-hmm. I lived right there, so they called me to come up, and I would often help with live shots and stuff like that for the station anyway. But and when I got there, it was horrific. And these are things people don't want to think about, and it makes people uncomfortable. But imagine a bus going off a cliff with a bunch of little girls. What's that going to look like? There were 7 killed, and I still see this little girl's face. I still see her. It was absolute chaos. And
sometimes from the outside you don't realize it's chaos, right? You think everything's under control, but when you're on the spot, you see what's happening.
Oh, just the communications with the emergency rooms. I've talked to them, and they didn't know what they were getting, and where these guys were going, because they were overrunning the hospital in Palm Springs. So they were going to different hospitals and different aircraft coming in and different ambulances going out. I've been involved in a lot of aerial helicopter footage for fires and stuff like that. And just the communications between sheriffs and police and fire department, all of those guys, they can't communicate. You think in today's world with our technology you could.
Why they couldn't communicate? That the channels were not
They're
there?
on different radios with different frequencies with different codes. So one can't talk to the other. You got to put this radio down to pick up this radio, like that. I mean, it's archaic. It's like from the 50s. When there was a school shooting, and my wife and I had taken a huge risk in our business, because I had my own company, and we took a huge risk, and we had money in the bank, and we were going to go buy a boat. She's from Panama. We were going to go sail the Caribbean for a few years, right? And there was a school shooting, and it just ripped my heart out. That little girl's face came back, and I couldn't buy a boat. Mm-hmm. I moped around and I struggled for a while, and she just took me and shook me and said, "Just stop. Just fix this. This is what you do." Yeah. So from that point on, I didn't have a choice. And we were at dinner, and I saw a family that was eating. There were 3 daughters, the mom and dad, and they were on their phone. And the light went off. That technology, we have that. I can use that. I can use what they're holding in their hands to stop school shootings, so that kids don't have to go through, that horrific experience that towns don't have to go through, the families don't go through. I mean, we can make such a dramatic improvement to humanity just by using that technology in the right way.
So explain to us briefly how that works, how that your technology works in a school that potentially has an emergency.
Like I talked about the chaos.
Mm-hmm.
You imagine the chaos that was in that one bus crash, and then when somebody's shooting. What the technology does is it gives the teacher a little button, so if she gets into an emergency in her classroom, somebody has a heart attack, she can hit that button. We have artificial intelligence that can identify a weapon. So if somebody takes out a weapon, so Parkland, we identified that rifle in 1 second. Uvalde, we could have identified it before the guy even got on campus because he fired his gun off campus. And that exists a lot now, weapons detection, but what doesn't exist is the unification of all resources at the end. Seeing a weapon, triggering an alarm is one thing, but instantly being able to create that kind of bidirectional video and audio with all responders into every single classroom in an entire campus, or any, even in the courtyards or wherever you have cameras, instantly, and being able to provide that to every single first responder is it's a game changer. That's going to change our world. To change 911, it's going to change our response. It's going to make it very difficult for anybody to do anything wrong inside of a classroom, because everything is going to be captured to be used to prove the truth.
So basically you have a tablet or a camera in each classroom, and then when an emergency happens, the responders, the teachers, your company is able to live see what happens in each situation.
Correct. There's tablets, and then we can interface with IP cameras, so existing security systems in the halls and stuff like that, which is obviously one direction only. But in the classroom, it's bidirectional. So you have a tablet that's running in the classroom, and whether it's the teacher pushing her button or it's the weapon detection or gunshot detection, it triggers the alarm. And then you imagine this, multiple Zoom windows opening up. So you'll have different Zoom calls. Everybody, every first responder, all the administrators can see every single solitary classroom. Even the guy on a mobile phone can see every classroom. And then we can route medical into classrooms where we might have injured students or people. We could route your SROs in classrooms that you need to evacuate. We had an incident happen in one of our pilots where a kid had a gun. Unfortunately, it was in a classroom next to the one we had in our pilot, so there was no cameras, and it was chaos. Even though he wasn't shooting, but he was in a classroom, and it took huge effort to keep quiet and get that school evacuated around that classroom. And now you would be able to see, for an example, everybody is horrified by what happened in Uvalde. Imagine if those officers could see him come across that campus, track his movements, identify which doors were open and locked. They could see inside the halls. They could see inside the classroom. How different would that have been? That's really the question I ask people, is how different would it have been if you had eyes everywhere instantly?
Explain to us one more time how the system is different than the regular security cameras that are already present in this classroom. Is it that they connect automatically with all these responders?
Well, there's a couple things. Security cameras are passive devices. People have to look at a wall full of cameras to see anything, and they can't tell what's happening where. And they have to have people to do it. Our system, you don't have to have anybody. It's the teachers that are actually in control, or artificial intelligence is in control, so that they trigger automatically. So, for example, we've all heard defund police and the reductions that have happened in the police department. They don't need anybody monitoring. They literally have 2 laptops in the 911 call center. That's it. There's monitors on the wall. Nothing's going on. It's very boring until an alarm comes off. And as soon as that alarm comes off, they can see every single classroom on that campus, or every system on that campus, without investing in more officers, without investing in a lot of equipment.